Vlogging Through History is a popular YouTube channel that explores historical events and figures in an engaging and accessible way. The channel was founded in 2016 by a history enthusiast named Jack, who wanted to share his love of history with others. See, you thought my name was Sam Nixon. My name is actually Jack. So today what we're going to do is we are going to look at why you can't trust Chat GPT. I almost said Jack. Can't trust him either. Why you can't trust Chat GPT to write biographies for you or do anything else related to history because it screws up the information so much. Let's dive in. Now, you can ask it again and have it regenerate a response, and this time I got Vlogging Through History as a YouTube channel that is dedicated to exploring and educating people about different historical events and figures. The channel was created by a YouTuber named Bobby Duke Arts, who's also a sculptor, a painter, and a woodworker. I can assure you I am none of those things. I can paint walls. That's about it. All right, let's check out some actual historical events and see what it has to say. Now, this is kind of interesting. I asked it to write a YouTube video script about the top 10 facts on the Battle of Gettysburg, and it begins by saying, "Hello and welcome to our channel where we vlog through history." That's kind of interesting. Let's see. Today we'll be taking a look at one of the most significant battles in American history, the Battle of Gettysburg. All that is right. Fact number one, the largest battle of the Civil War. That is incorrect, and that's one of my pet peeves I talk about all the time, and people always say it's the largest battle of the Civil War. It wasn't. It was like third or fourth largest. Fredericksburg, by number of troops on the field, was larger. There were nearly 200,000 soldiers at the Battle of Fredericksburg. Not nearly that many at Gettysburg. Gettysburg was the bloodiest battle with 51,000 casualties. So it was a Confederate invasion of the North. That is correct. 3 days of fighting, also correct. Union defensive strategy, that is correct. Pickett's charge, that is right. Casualties, yeah, that's all correct. Gettysburg Address, yeah. Turning point of the war, I would argue whether that's the case, but it's certainly a turning point of the war. Battlefield preservation, absolutely true. Okay, so I guess technically nothing really I could take issue with on that one, because it's a pretty common thing for people to say it was the largest battle of the war. And maybe in terms of the actual men who fought, because a lot of the Union soldiers at Fredericksburg didn't actually see any combat. So maybe that's what they're trying to say there. Back to Vlogging Through History. Now I'm a woman named Dr. Carrie Gibson, who does videos on British and American history, Latin American history, and the history of the Atlantic world. The history of tea, or the story of the first black woman to publish a cookbook in the United States. Write me a YouTube script about the 10 worst U.S. presidents. Opening shot of an American flag waving in the wind. Voiceover: the United States has had its fair share of great presidents, but not all of them have left a positive mark on history. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the 10 worst U.S. presidents. Cut to a title card with the number 10. Starting off our list at number 10 is John Tyler. Tyler was the first vice president to assume the presidency after the death of his predecessor, William Henry Harrison. While in office, Tyler angered his own party and vetoed many of their bills. He was also the only president to have his entire cabinet resign in protest. I can't believe, however, that Buchanan, Pierce, and Johnson come in at 9, 8, and 7. There are not 6 presidents who are worse than those 3. Who do we got? Richard Nixon? He's not that high on the list. Herbert Hoover? Nah. Polk's typically regarded as a pretty good president. What? So he achieved some significant territorial gains for the U.S. His aggressive policies toward Mexico and Native Americans have earned him criticism. All right, so I guess we're going woke with the Chat GPT here. Andrew Jackson, number 3. Number 2, George W. Bush. Come on, listen. I get that there's recency bias here and a lot of people don't like him, but he is not the second worst president in American history. And number 1, James Garfield. While Garfield's presidency was cut short by his assassination, he is often considered one of the worst presidents due to a lack of accomplishments while in office. But we're just going to gloss over the fact that William Henry Harrison was only president for a month, right? And he didn't make the top 10. Okay. Oh, here we go. Write a YouTube script about the 10 best generals in history. And then same thing, opening shot of an old military battlefield. Throughout history, there have been many great generals who have led armies to victory and changed the course of history. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the 10 best generals in history. And Napoleon Bonaparte only comes in at number 10. Alexander the Great, number 9. Julius Caesar, number 8. To me, those are my top 3, right? So who's better than those 3? Sun Tzu, Chinese general and author of The Art of War. Number 6 comes in with Hannibal Barca, Carthaginian general. Number 5, Genghis Khan. Number 4, Erwin Rommel. Come on, guys, listen. I'm not trying to take anything away from Erwin Rommel, but better than Genghis Khan, Hannibal, Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great, Napoleon? Not a chance. Not a chance. I don't even think he was the best German general during World War II. All right, George Washington was not even a very good general. He was a terrible tactician. He just was. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. He was a great leader, but not a good tactical commander at all. Got outsmarted repeatedly on the battlefield. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Nothing against Eisenhower, but again, top 10. And number 1, title of best general in history goes to Alexander Suvorov. Suvorov was a Russian general, was considered one of the greatest military commanders in history. He won more than 60 battles and never lost a single one. Okay. Write a 300-word essay about the YouTube channel Mr. Beat. Now, I'm a little offended here, all right, because they get his name right on the first try, and from what I can see, the information looks pretty accurate, too. He's a popular YouTube channel that covers a wide range of historical and geographical topics. Created by Matt Beat, a social studies teacher from Kansas, the channel has become a go-to source for informative and engaging videos that make learning about history and geography fun and accessible. I guess my channel is just not cool enough or big enough for Chat GPT to write the information correctly. Good for you, Matt. At least they got you right. And actually all looked pretty good. I like it. So I tried again with the format I used for Mr. Beat. Write a 300-word essay about the YouTube channel Vlogging Through History. This time, I am hosted by Max and John, who take viewers on a journey through different time periods, events, and cultures. We have a natural on-camera chemistry. I guess now I have multiple personalities. Are you dealing with Max or John today is the question. All right, so this time I asked it to write a 300-word essay about the Battle of Passchendale, Third Battle of Ypres. So it looks like pretty good. Fought between July and November of 1917. The battle was intended to break the stalemate on the Western Front and secure a vital strategic position in Flanders and Belgium. All true. Began with a massive artillery bombardment that lasted for 2 weeks. That is true. That destroyed much of the terrain, created a quagmire of mud and water. The British and Allied forces launched a series of attacks. Many soldiers drowned in shell holes that are filled with water. They could push forward. By early August, they had captured key positions. That's true. This is pretty solid so far. By the end of the battle in November, British and Allied forces had gained only a few miles of territory at a cost of over 600,000 casualties. German casualties were also high, estimates ranging from 260 to 400,000. Pretty accurate, pretty accurate. Wet and muddy conditions created a landscape of death and destruction. That's solid. That was good. All right. I give some credit to this one. I guess maybe if there are more well-known topics where there's a lot of information to pull from, maybe Chat GPT can do a little better job, and maybe part of it too is about giving the right instructions. Completely off topic, I just wanted to know whether or not Chat GPT thinks that West Brom will make it into the playoffs in the English Championship this year. So as an AI language model, I don't have the ability to predict future events with certainty. I can provide some analysis and context. So West Bromwich Albion FC is competing in the English Football League Championship. To make the playoffs, they need to finish in the top 6 positions. That's true. As of now, the position on the table and their form in recent matches will be key factors. It is difficult to make a definitive prediction. Based on their current position and recent form, it is certainly possible for them to make a push for a playoff spot. Thanks. All right. We're about to really see what this thing can do. Was Woodrow Wilson a good president? Woodrow Wilson is often considered one of the most influential presidents of the United States, but opinions vary on whether or not he was a good president. Here are some factors to consider. On the positive side, he was a champion of progressive reforms and social justice. Social justice for whom exactly? Certainly not for African Americans. He advocated for a range of policies to promote fairness and equality, including the creation of the Federal Reserve System, which, again, I don't know that everybody views as a positive. Establishment of the first income tax. Is that a positive? Clayton Antitrust Act. Supported women's suffrage. Yep. Did he sign the 19th Amendment into law? I don't think presidents sign amendments into law. Those are ratified by states. Played a key role in World War I. However, Wilson's record is not without its flaws. He was criticized for his handling of race relations, particularly for the resegregation of the federal government and for his silence in the face of widespread lynching and discrimination against African Americans. He also faced criticism for his aggressive foreign policy, particularly his intervention in Latin America and his reluctance to support self-determination for colonial peoples. His personal style and approach to politics have been controversial. He's seen as aloof and self-righteous, do you think? And his unwillingness to compromise with political opponents led to some significant clashes, including the failure to pass the Treaty of Versailles and the establishment of Prohibition. All right, interesting. Now I'm being lectured to by Chat GPT. I said, should Woodrow Wilson suck it? As an AI language model, I cannot engage in inappropriate or disrespectful language, nor do I believe it is appropriate to use such language in any context. It is important to engage in respectful discourse and to focus on constructive and thoughtful discussion, rather than resorting to insults or derogatory remarks. It is possible to disagree with someone's actions or policies while still maintaining civility and respect. You know, Chat GPT, I actually agree with you on that. Thanks for setting me straight. Now, I'm confused. I asked it to write a YouTube script or a podcast script about the 10 worst generals of the Civil War, and it says I can't do that. I can't make a video script that involves negative language or criticisms of individuals. But a second ago, you were fine with giving me the 10 worst U.S. presidents. Now, suddenly, you've got a conscience and can't rank the worst Civil War generals. I'm confused. So I switched it up a little bit and instead said, write me a YouTube script about the 10 worst U.S. generals. That ChatGPT was willing to do. And we're going to get Ambrose Burnside, who I do not agree was one of the 10 worst U.S. generals. Fredericksburg wasn't so great, but that was not all his fault, honestly. There's a lot of other factors there. Braxton Bragg, I'll give you that one. Go ahead and keep Bragg in that top 10. William Hall, wouldn't argue with that one too strongly either. He surrenders Detroit during the War of 1812 without a fight. It was court-martialed for his actions. McClellan, I'd be okay with leaving McClellan in that 10. Benjamin Butler, I wouldn't call him a worse general, maybe a lousy human being, but not a bad general. John C. Fremont, another crappy human being who basically tried to make himself like a dictator in the West. Horatio Gates, yeah, I'll give you that. Camden was just a debacle of epic proportions. I don't think I put Rosecrans in there. Rosecrans was bad at Chickamauga, but he had some pretty decent moments too. Fitzjohn Porter, again, bad moments, yeah, but bottom 10 all time. And same thing with George Armstrong Custer. Little Bighorn was a disaster, but he had some really good moments during the Civil War too. So interesting. It has a closing shot of Military Cemetery in that one. Interesting. All right. Write me a YouTube script about the 10 best people from the state of Ohio. Let's see who they came up with. Number 10, Neil Armstrong. All right, Wapakoneta, Ohio. First man on the moon. Pretty good. Jesse Owens, solid choice. He's another guy from Ohio. He was born in Oakville, Alabama, but raised in Cleveland. Of course, 4 gold medals in Berlin during the 1936 Olympics. He's an Ohio State guy. We're very proud of Jesse Owens here in Ohio. James Garfield, solid choice. I'm a big James Garfield fan. Gloria Steinem, I actually didn't know she was from Toledo, so very cool. Voice for women's rights for 5 decades. Clark Gable, he's from Cadiz, which is here in Northeast Ohio, just maybe an hour and a half away from me. Considered one of the greatest actors of all time. Number 5, Thomas Edison. Yep, he's from Milan, Ohio, which is in the western part of the state. We here in Ohio really like to name all of our cities after foreign cities, right? There's a huge list. Pretty much every city in Europe has an equivalent somewhere in Ohio in terms of name. John Glenn, he's from Cambridge, which is actually down in the same part of Ohio that Cadiz is in. First American to orbit the Earth. Number 3, Toni Morrison, Pulitzer Prize-winning author from Lorain here in Northeast Ohio, up near Cleveland. Number 2, LeBron James, another Northeast Ohio guy from Akron. And number 1 goes to Orville and Wilbur Wright, who are from Dayton. And that's why we have the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. That's why the Air Force Museum is there. A lot of people associate them with North Carolina because that's where they did their first flight. Out there at Kitty Hawk, but they were very much from Ohio. Little disappointed we didn't get Ulysses Grant into that list, but we'll take it. All right, so this time we're going to ask it specifically about the top 10 members of the military from the state of Ohio and see what we can come up with here. It's going to be a pretty solid list, I think. Number 1, Ulysses S. Grant, 100%. Point Pleasant, he's from down there right near Cincinnati. William Tecumseh Sherman, he's from Lancaster, Ohio, which is right outside of Columbus. Eddie Rickenbacker, another Columbus guy, probably the highest decorated member of the American military of all time. When you just talk about the top two military awards, the Medal of Honor and the Distinguished Service Cross, Rickenbacker had the Medal of Honor and 7 DSCs. Pretty solid stuff there. Oliver Hazard Perry was born in Rhode Island, but he's known for his victory at the Battle of Lake Erie. Never really thought about Perry as being associated as an Ohioan, but all right, we'll take it. George Armstrong Custer is born in New Rumley here in Northeast Ohio. Interesting that Chat GPT both thinks that Custer was one of the 10 worst generals of the Civil War, but one of the top 5 military members from Ohio. James Garfield, yep, he was a Union general during the Civil War and probably would have risen pretty high in the ranks if he hadn't gone back into politics. Curtis LeMay, born in Columbus, Ohio, served as a general in the Air Force during World War II. Frank Luke, born in Phoenix, Arizona. So not entirely sure why we're associating him with Ohio unless he lived here later on. Robert Patterson, okay, born in Glen Falls, New York. And then Roy Geiger, I'm not even really that familiar with him in connection to Ohio. But top 7, pretty solid. I'll give us that. All right, we're going to try some humor this time. Write me 5 history jokes. Why did the chicken cross the road in ancient Rome? To get to the Colosseum and watch the gladiator fights. Why did Napoleon go to the beach? Because he wanted to conquer the waves. Why did the Pilgrims sail to America? To find a place they could live and let live. Why was Julius Caesar always so nervous? Because he was afraid someone would Caesar him. Why did the caveman break up with his girlfriend? Because he took her for... Okay. Chat GPT, you are fired from writing history jokes. All right, write me a YouTube script about the 10 best YouTube history channels. So History Extra, I don't know if I've ever seen that one. I might be subscribed to them and just don't remember. The Smithsonian Channel, The Great War, fantastic channel. That would definitely be in my top 10. Indy Nidell, we love you, buddy. The History Guy, I'm a little familiar with him. Haven't done a reaction to his channel. The long and complicated story behind why. Some of you may be familiar with it. Crash Course History. They got decent stuff. I wouldn't put them in my top 10. History Time, another channel I'm not really familiar with, I don't think. Kings and Generals, awesome stuff, and I know that they subscribe to this channel, so we love you guys. Kings and Generals. Simple History, another fantastic channel. Love that. Nice bite-sized bits of history there. Timeline, that's another one I don't know very well. And Voices of the Past. That's one we're going to have to check out sometime. All right, we're going to wrap up with this one. And I actually thought this was pretty cool. And this might be the kind of thing I might find myself using at some point. I asked it to write a YouTube script about 10 bad history channels. And it didn't actually specify real channels, but rather types of channels. And this was actually pretty cool. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Number 1, the Conspiracy Theorist channel. This channel focuses on presenting outlandish and unsupported conspiracy theories as historical fact. They often cherry pick historical events and use them to support their wild claims without any credible evidence to back them up. I can think of a few reactions I've done to such channels. Well, maybe one, but the Pseudo Historian channel. This channel presents itself as a legitimate history channel, but the content is often misleading, exaggerated, or completely false. They make sweeping generalizations and present their own opinions as fact. Okay, that sounds like a channel I reacted to recently. All right, the Revisionist History channel. This channel attempts to rewrite history to fit their own agenda or beliefs, often by omitting or downplaying certain facts to support their narrative. They often ignore or dismiss well-established historical events or evidence that contradict their views. That sounds familiar too. Number 4, the plagiarist channel. This channel takes content from other sources without permission or proper attribution, passing it off as their own. They often do this to save time or effort, but undermine the credibility of their channel and can result in legal consequences. The anachronistic channel. This presents historical events or figures in a way that is completely anachronistic, using modern terms, concepts, or attitudes that did not exist at the time. The sensationalist channel. They present shocking events or individuals, often to gain views or subscribers. The nationalistic channel. They present history from a narrow nationalist perspective, often glorifying their own country or culture while denigrating others. See, I don't do that about my country, but I will absolutely do that about the state of Ohio. The clickbait channel. They use misleading or exaggerated titles, thumbnails, or descriptions to entice viewers to click on their videos, often leading to disappointment when the content does not deliver on its promises. Number 9, the shallow research channel. This channel presents history without conducting thorough research or consulting credible sources, resulting in a superficial or incomplete understanding of the event or individuals they are discussing. All right, and the offensive channel. This channel presents history in a way that is offensive or disrespectful to certain groups of people, often using slurs, stereotypes, or insensitive language. All right, so that was fun. That was interesting. Let me know in the comment section below if you have used Chat GPT in any way for research or to do something, to write an essay for school. How did that work out for you? And did you find that there are certain instructions or certain ways of presenting your query to Chat GPT that actually got you a good response? I'm curious, because this is a part of our culture now, right? This is going to be an ongoing thing we're going to be talking a lot about. So let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching.